Okay, to finish off this exercise, might as well add a little bit of atmosphere. So we might spend a few minutes just adding a couple of lights to get it looking a little bit more interesting. So first thing I'll do is, don't have to do this, but because we've finished modeling, we don't really need to see the wireframe edges of the building. I can just simply go to shading and turn wireframe on shaded off. So it's really just the shaded mode that we're looking at. So what we're going to do now is add 2 or 3 lights. Again, just to create a little bit more of a final touch with the atmosphere or the mood of the thing. So the way to do that, now the fact that you can actually see the what you're modeling within this light, it's not a specific light coming from a specific direction, it's a default light. Okay, so the shadow bit of the side here and the lip bit is just a generic default light, but what we're going to do now is actually turn that default light off by pressing 7 on the keyboard. Here we go, it's all dark, and we're going to add our own lights. Again, to toggle between turning the default light on and off, it's 7 or 6. 6 turns the default light on, 7 turns it off. Okay, so yep, so it's turned off. It's all in darkness. And lights are found under the Create menu, Lights. Now we'll go through these lights in more detail a little bit later on, but for now we'll just use 2 types of lights, and I'll quickly explain what they are. I guess it might be self-evident, but the first light I'm going to use is a directional light. Okay, as soon as I create an object, let's go to the Move tool, there it is in the center of the grid. I'll just raise it up. Now you can't see the little icon, the little symbol, it's there, but I'll just scale that. There we go. That's the symbol for a directional light. Now with a directional light, it doesn't matter where you've got it positioned. It makes no difference to the lighting, but when I press E for rotate and rotate it, you can see that it actually has an effect in relation to the direction it's pointing to. Okay, so I'll just rotate that around until I get something that looks a little bit sort of interesting. So it's been lit from that side. One side is lit, but the other side is in stark shadow. Now, realistically, we probably don't want that sort of situation. So what I'm going to do is, with that directional light, I'll duplicate it. So edit duplicate, but then the duplicate I will rotate in the other direction, so you can actually see that object, or the shops, are now illuminated from both directions. But just to keep things a little bit different, I might vary the intensity of one of those lights. So to access that information, we select the light. On the side here, we've got the attribute editor, so if I click on that, you can see, again, like the channel box, depending on what you've got selected, it shows the attributes for that particular item. So if I go to one of the lights, you can see it's got light, color, intensity, all sorts of things. Potentially we've got shadows. We won't worry about that at the moment. But what I'm concerned about is just the intensity in this case. So the default value for the intensity is 1. So you can see when you vary the slider, it changes. So I'll have that 0.2. Again, it's not 0 because 0 means it's black, but we want it a little bit in shadow in this case, so I'll just have it at 0.3 or something. Okay, the other one, maybe have that a little bit less than 1. So again, once you add more lights, in the longer term, you'll need to and fro and vary the intensities. But for now, that should be alright. It looks like it might need to be a bit more in shadow, the other one, so I'll select the other light and vary it a bit. That's okay. I do want it to be relatively dark because the main light actually, which I'll add in a second, is going to be a spotlight. But again, tweak it later. Close that. So spotlight, create lights, spotlight. Move to, where is it? There it is. Where's the actual light? There it is. The icon's really small, so I'll just go to the scale tool, make it bigger so you can see it. There's a spotlight. So you can see a spotlight essentially lives up to its name and creates a spot of light. Okay, as you're rotating, you can see the effect. Now with the spotlight attributes, if we select the spotlight and go to the attributes, so again we've got intensity, color, etc., but we've got a couple of extra items here for a spotlight. We've got cone angle. If I click on that, you can see what it does, adjusts the size of the spot. Penumbra, if I move that, you can see what it does. Rather than a sharp difference between light and shadow, it creates sort of a softer one, maybe a nicer one. Again, I'll leave it at that for the moment. Maybe make the cone a bit bigger, penumbra a little bit less. Again, in reality, there's a bit of toing and froing, but it should give you an idea. Maybe I can move that back a bit. I suppose if you've got something at night in your shop window sort of scene, you can add a few light posts or lamp posts and have some sort of nighttime lighting, so to speak. That might be good. A bit of neon lighting as well, depending on your shop, so that will probably do. Maybe the intensity is a bit less. Yeah, you can tweak on it. Oh look, that'll do. I think that's fine. Close that. And basically, oh, that's a bit dark there, isn't it? So maybe I can go back in and adjust the directional lights. Again, it's a bit of toing and froing, particularly once you add more detail, color, texture, composition. In practice, you'll make small adjustments until you start getting what you sort of want to achieve. But that's probably okay. That looks alright. Tweaks aside.